What is up, bros? Me, Josh here, and in today's video, I'm going to go over the Tier 6 French cruiser, the La Galissonniere. Now, I think I said it correctly. I am going to call this thing the LG for short throughout the rest of the video, so I don't slaughter the name. I think I nailed it, though. I think Google helped me out. But let's dive into the stats and kind of check out what this ship has to offer. So, the LG is the Tier 6 cruiser for the French line, which has recently just come out, and this line for me has been pretty so-so. I think this is really the first ship on this line that I've liked. Now, of course, because of the Battle of the Elements, I did free XP to the Tier 5, so I could spend all those games working on stuff, although I did play the lower tiers beforehand, and I thought they were very okay. I think the Tier 3 and the Tier 4 kind of have their own spot in kind of a troll set situation, low tiers. I tend to play the mid to higher tiers, so the tier 5, the Emile, was very mediocre for me, so this one I liked a bit more. I'm still really trying to find out what playstyle is working for this French line. I feel like they are kind of a max range troll ship, kind of like everything's a bit of a Kutuzov setup that you tend to spend your time at a decent range and kind of avoiding shots as much as you can because one, you're a fragile cruiser, two, you have a pretty high fire chance, and three, your range is actually pretty solid, and these things are pretty accurate as well. Let's check it out. 27,000 hit points, 27,300. It's not too bad for a tier 6. You're pretty agile or pretty quick, so you can kind of dodge, and your range at 15.9 kilometers is all right. You're kind of in that mid-range, mid to higher range for the tier 6 cruisers. Almost no armor, really. I mean, you have a little bit, but like I said, you're gonna be spending. First of all, you're a mid-tier cruiser, and second of all, you're gonna be spending most of your time at kind of a pretty decent range, in my opinion. This thing just can't really tank that well, and you're going to be taking lots of alpha damage anyway, as well as just getting absolutely annihilated. And now you can bow tank a little bit, you know, if you are armored right, to kind of go hit for hit, but really I was spending most of my time kind of in that golden 14-15 kilometer range and just kind of hitting those fires. So the main bats, 10-second reload, which is actually pretty good for a tier 6 cruiser. It really is. Relatively quick turrets. Of course, you can use expert marksmanship to increase that. 12% fire chance, so you're right there with the Cleveland. That's without demo expert. So you can get it up to 14%. And then with a 15.9 range, so you're actually doing pretty decent damage with 152 millimeter guns. Now, one thing that kind of happened, one thing I kind of noticed a lot was you're breaking a lot, even on some superstructures, even that higher armor belt. You're going to be shattering a lot of shells. It was kind of annoying in certain situations, but your fire chance is high enough to kind of make up for it, and you do end up getting some decent damage out of this ship. Also, the AP is pretty solid, broadsides if you can get that. It does have a bit of an arc when you're shooting this gun with 870 meters per second for the shell velocity, but really was able to pump out some damage both with HE and AP. I think these are more of like an HE ship, long range, and then when you can punish, it's AP all day. But 15.9 though, use it and abuse it. I mean, you're pretty competitive with that, and you can even up tier really well. Of course, we all know tier 6 is a kind of brutal tier for matchmaking right now. You tend to get up tier a lot just because of how matchmaking's work right now. But if you are able to just play very safe, and I think you can even semi be competitive because it's such a strong HE meta right now. So 14% with demo expert at almost 16 kilometers, you can do okay, even if you get up tiered. Now the torpedo tubes. I use these. I like that the French cruisers have, in my opinion, the French cruisers are kind of like this Russian IGN baby. They have a decent, accurate range with high fire chance, and then they have decent torpedoes. I felt these torpedoes, for me, to be non-existent. It's 2 sets of 2. It does have a relatively quick reload at 60 seconds, and they do hit hard, but really for me it was very much kind of a last-ditch effort. Kind of reminded me of almost like Russian torpedoes, that you're only using them if you're kind of in like a oh crap moment, if you're really close. They do have 9 kilometers though, so feel free to use them. I did all the time, and I did snag a couple hits, but 2 sets of 2 is pretty hard to hit, you know, with 1 on each side. And so that was kind of the downside. Only 2, so you got to be pretty freaking accurate or just lucky. But they are there, so use them as much as you can. 60 knots at 9 kilometers isn't too bad. AA was actually pretty decent in my opinion. Now I ran the extra module to get a little bit more AA, which I did like on this, and you can also run the AA consumable. Now you're no Cleveland, you know, insanely strong AA ship, but you are pretty competitive and you will shoot down some ships. So you are not like this easy no AA ship to just get dunked on. So if you do have the A consumable and you do run that module, you do have some extra AA, and you can actually shoot down a decent amount of planes. You're hitting planes at 4.8 kilometers. I'm sorry. So, like I said, you're not quite the Budjani or the Cleveland with the AA, but you are definitely going to be knocking out some planes out of the sky. I had a few games with 10 to 15 planes knocked down because CVs were trying to really get from me. Relatively agile, relatively quick at 31 kilometers. 31 knots, 6.1 second rudder shift, and turning circle radius of 650. So you're pretty agile, pretty quick, which was really nice because you did need that kind of wiggle around as much as you could and avoid incoming shots. So kind of what you're going to be doing is you're going to be doing that pain in the ass, long range shooting, lighting things on fire, and avoiding all damage at, if possible. Detectability is pretty mediocre. You get down to about 11 and some change with a captain spec for it. So you're okay. You're not super sneaky, but you're actually doing all right for tier 6. Now, of course, you're going to get basically outspotted by almost everything when you get to kind of in the higher tiers. But still, you could be pretty sneaky, and basically you could disengage, especially if you spec a captain for it. You could disengage and kind of get out of there. So for modules, as you saw a little bit earlier, I'm running main armament 1, which I think is just pretty basic. If you ever have anything with guns and torpedoes, you can really double down on this, and I really like that. I went with this, the extra AA. I think everything else really isn't worth it. You could pick up aiming system, I guess, if you really want. But I think AA is just really going to help out a lot, and so you don't drop out what you're going to lose on 7 AA. So I don't think it's quite worth it. And getting the extra range could potentially keep you the 20% more range is just, I think, worth it, in my opinion. Now, propulsion. I felt like I was losing propulsion a decent amount with this ship, propulsion and steering, and I just felt like propulsion was a bit more. So take whatever you think is you're losing more, because you are going to lose these a decent amount. These ships are pretty fragile, so it's just something to keep in mind. And then steering gears. I think this is just the way to go. Now, you could roll propulsion if maybe you're going to hide behind a few more islands. I felt like this ship had really good arcs to kind of, not quite Atlanta arcs, of course, but you could kind of post up behind an island and then kind of lob over. It had a really good shell for that, really good trajectory for that. Not through the moon like the Atlantas or the Flints or anything like that, or USNDDs, but you could obviously launch them over some islands and get some productivity out of that. But I like steering gears. I feel like anytime you can avoid a torpedo or outmaneuver another ship and win that gun battle is always really nice. So playstyle for this ship, the LG, in my opinion, you're going to be kind of long range shells. You're going to be a massive pain in the ass for the enemy team. You're going to be semi-max range, lighting everything on fire, and then when things are finally fed up with you and giving you a good broadside or stuff like that, that's when you're going to start absolutely annihilating them with AP. Now, of course, if a cruiser is rolling broadside to you, you can absolutely smash them with AP. Relatively good reload time, relatively good accuracy. I found these ships to be very accurate, even at max range, and that's one thing I really liked about this ship. So it took me a while to get used to this. I was trying to find out where I was supposed to be on the map, where I was supposed to like kind of engage ships, and I played this like a really strong. I played it like a Russian ship, like I would a Russian ship. You know, you're gonna use. I played it like a Kutuzov. You're gonna use that long range at 15.9. You're not quite the farthest, but you're definitely one of the farthest shooting tier 6 cruisers with a. You can hit stuff at max range. You know, Clevelands are pretty tough because of the trajectory to hit things at max range, but this is pretty reliable. So hitting those superstructures on battleships, you know, with a 14% fire chance too with Demo Expert, you can spread fires around a lot and actually stack up a lot of damage and really kind of just be a huge annoyance for the enemy team. I started to like the ship the more and more I played, and which was nice because I didn't really like the tier 5 at all. I thought the tier 5 was kind of lacking in certain situations, and this one to me is a lot more fun. I think a lot more playable. Now, I don't really know. I think a lot of people are not really liking the French line too much, and I feel like it's the same thing as kind of the Royal Navy line back in the day, where the lower tiers are a bit more brutal. Although I think comparatively the French line is better lower tier than the Royal Navy line. I think the Royal Navy line was pretty brutal low tier. You had to basically get to Leander to get in my opinion, a decent ship. But the French line, I think, is kind of hit and miss here and there, and I think the LG at tier 6 is kind of the first one that you're really gonna enjoy playing. The only downside is you are really, really at the mercy of matchmaking right now. Especially just, at least on North American server, tier 6 matchmaking has been pretty unforgiving, and a lot of up tiering. And I think on one of the streams we played 9 games at tier 6 with this ship, and I think we had 1 game we were top tier, 1 game mid tier, and 7 games bottom tier. So it can be competitive. You have to be very, very careful what you engage, because you get a pissed off Amagi or pissed off battleship or pissed off anything, you're gonna get wiped off the face of the earth pretty quick with only 27,300 life. So something to keep in mind, guys. Just remember, you're fragile. Use the HE, but don't forget the ship has pretty good AP. And I'm liking this. I'm excited to play the tier 7, and the more and more, I don't know if this is quite a save ship. I'm gonna leave a spot for it in my port. I tend to be a ship collector anyway, but I don't know if it's quite a save, but the more and more I played this ship, the less I mind. I think I ended up grinding out like 24,000 XP over what I needed to get the next tier 7. So I didn't mind the ship that much. I just felt like I had some games that were mediocre damage, and it was very, like, you know, it's not a full-blown Russian ship, let's just say that. But the French line, I'm kind of in the middle of the road with how I feel about this ship. And this one was kind of the first glimmer of hope for this line, and hopefully it's as good as the ships that I tested before they went live. So the work in progress ships. So we'll see you guys. But that is it for the LG, the La Galissonniere. I should have stayed with the LG. I think I just murdered that. But that's it for me, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed the ship. Let me know what you guys think of the French line in the comments below. Remember, like and subscribe, and I will see you guys later.